I've been getting text messages from my dead best friend for 3 months. Today he told me who killed him. Caleb died on March 15th in what everyone called a tragic car accident. Single vehicle collision on Route 47, lost control around a sharp curve and hit a tree. The funeral was closed casket because of how mangled his body was. I was devastated. We'd been best friends since kindergarten, did everything together, shared every secret. His mom asked me to speak at the service, and I barely made it through without breaking down. I thought that was the end, that I'd never hear from my best friend again. Then the texts started coming exactly 1 week after the funeral. The first one just said, "Miss you, bro," from Caleb's number. I figured it was his mom using his phone to feel close to him, or maybe his little sister playing around. I texted back asking who it was, but got no response. The next day, another text. "Funeral was nice, thanks for the speech." That one made me uncomfortable because whoever was texting knew I'd spoken at the service, but I still assumed it was family. But the messages kept coming, and they started getting more personal. Remember when we snuck out to see Sarah Jenkins at the lake? That was a memory only Caleb and I shared. We'd never told anyone about that night sophomore year. "Your mom still makes those terrible meatballs on Sundays." How would his family know my mom's cooking schedule? The texts were coming at all hours, sometimes at 3 a.m., and they contained details about my daily life that were impossible for anyone else to know. 3 weeks after the funeral, I got a text that made my blood freeze. "I can see you right now, sitting in your car outside McDonald's, eating those gross chicken nuggets you love." I was indeed sitting in my car at McDonald's, and I just ordered chicken nuggets. I looked around the parking lot frantically, but there was no one there who could have seen me. I called Caleb's mom that night to ask if anyone else had access to his phone. She broke down crying and told me his phone had been destroyed in the crash. There was no way anyone could be using it. The texts became more frequent and more disturbing. Caleb started describing what it was like being dead, how he could see everything but couldn't interact with the living world. He told me about conversations I'd had with people after his death, things I'd said to my girlfriend about missing him, even private moments when I'd cried alone in my room. "I watched you break down in your bedroom last Tuesday night," one text read. "I wish I could have hugged you like old times, but it was last week's messages that changed everything." Caleb started talking about the night he died, giving me details that weren't in any police report or news article. "I wasn't driving to the store like everyone thinks," he texted. "I was meeting someone at the old quarry, someone I trusted." He described seeing Mason Hartwell's truck parked behind the trees when he arrived. Mason, our mutual friend since middle school, someone who'd been a pallbearer at Caleb's funeral, someone who'd comforted me during my grief. According to the texts, Caleb had discovered something horrible about Mason 3 days before he died. He'd found photos on Mason's computer when he borrowed it for a school project, images of local missing kids, detailed plans, locations where bodies were buried. Mason had been operating as a serial killer for 2 years, targeting teenagers from nearby towns where the disappearances wouldn't be connected. Caleb confronted Mason about the photos, threatened to go to the police, and Mason convinced him to meet at the quarry to talk it through. The texts described how Mason had sabotaged Caleb's brakes earlier that day, loosening them just enough so they'd fail on the winding road home from the quarry. But when Caleb arrived and saw Mason's truck, he knew it was a trap. He tried to leave, but the brakes were already failing. Mason followed him, ramming his truck into Caleb's car at the sharp curve, sending him straight into the tree. Mason then staged the scene to look like an accident and called 911, playing the role of a concerned friend who'd found the wreckage. Yesterday's text was the most terrifying yet. "Mason has been watching you since the funeral. He knows we used to share everything, and he's worried I told you about the photos before I died. Check under your car tomorrow morning. He's been putting tracking devices on it." I didn't want to believe it, but when I checked under my car this morning, there it was. A small GPS tracker magnetic mounted to my rear axle, exactly where the text said it would be. "Today's final message came through an hour ago. He's coming for you tonight. He knows I've been talking to you somehow, and he can't risk you figuring out the truth. Mason has been planning your accident for weeks. He's going to make it look like you were so grief-stricken about my death that you drove off the same curve where I died. Check your rearview mirror right now. I'm sitting in my car outside the police station, afraid to go inside because I know how insane this sounds. But I checked my mirror like the text said, and there's Mason's truck 3 cars behind me, engine running, headlights off. He's been following me for who knows how long. My hands are shaking as I type this. I can see him getting out of his truck now, walking toward my car with something in his hand. The last text just came through. Run. Don't let him make you the next accident."